We all love heroism. It's one of those things that inspires us to be better people, to lead better lives. You've probably seen plenty of people showing heroism, maybe even dogs as well as they save people from various sticky situations. We all know that YouTube is full of videos like these. But have you ever seen the same impressive heroism from a cat? We didn't think so. While canines are mostly credited with protecting their owners, the story that we have for you today shows that felines are equally capable of shielding those that they care about from danger. Are you ready to be inspired? Our story begins with the introduction of a cute tuxedo cat. It's always been clear that cats' strong personalities are what make us fall in love with them and adore them. However, we soon find that this cat brings a little more than that to the table. Behind the cute and innocent face, we soon find out that there is much more to be understood. Whether you're a cat or a dog person, both species are quite different in the ways that they show affection to both their owners and others around them. Historically, cats are not the best at rising to the occasion, defending their owners at all costs, no matter the risks. Indeed, this is typically the behavior that we can expect more from their canine counterparts. Oh well, we can't always have it all. Of course, cats have plenty of other great qualities, right? Ever since the family in question discovered the incredible boldness of that very tuxedo cat, the pet was revered as a brave warrior. Now, let's take a deep dive into the story. This is the tale of how a family discovered the terrible nature of the nanny that they hired, all thanks to their feline friend. In fact, were it not for the heroics of the family's pet cat, things could have ended in complete disaster. Ever since Mary and Daniel learned that they were due to have a baby, they were elated by the idea of a new family member. Beyond their own excitement, the family cat, Zara, was also more than ready to meet baby Ollie. As fun as it was to be part of a small family that loved her, there were few things that could be better than a friend of similar size. As soon as the bite-sized members of the family met one another, Zara seemed to be sure of a promising friendship, meowing until the couple allowed the two to cuddle. To Zara, there were few things that could be better than having a new friend to play with and with whom she could enjoy a whole range of adventures. What would they get up to first? For a year and a half, the story was just as simple as this: two friends growing closer together as time went on. Ollie's parents could only observe as the pair became increasingly inseparable. Wherever you could see Ollie, Zara was never far behind. Never once were either of Ollie's parents concerned about this. Of course, they had already known Zara the cat for longer than they had known their own son. Their trust toward their feline friend was absolute. It was just as they had imagined it. The two were always destined to be great friends. Mary and Daniel would frequently delight in how happy it made them to see the expression of amazement and joy on their son's face. This was exactly how he looked when every day started, as Zara scurried into his arms. The only concern now was that they would one day have to send their young son to preschool. Would he ever be prepared to spend a day away from his best friend? Perhaps that was a conversation that could be had in the future. For now, their number one aim was the happiness and well-being of their son. And on that front, everything was going just fine. There was nothing to worry about at all. Just as the friendship was blossoming, however, Mary was now ready to go back to work after 9 months of staying by her son's side. Daniel showed some resistance at first, telling his partner that she didn't need to go back to work if she truly didn't want to, stating that he would find a way to make ends meet on his own. Mary could do little else but smile as she heard this, deeply appreciative of the support that Daniel had shown her throughout this whole journey. But nonetheless, she responded by saying that she couldn't constantly support her son through his whole development. Eventually, she had to move on and pursue her career. Ultimately, she knew that she had to support her son, and of course the rest of her family, in future as well. As soon as she said this to her partner, as calm and composed as ever, he knew that she had made up her mind. The family was moving on together. With this came the need to hire a nanny. Of course, Mary could no longer look after Ollie as she once could. Faced with a series of new decisions, Mary turned to a family friend, settling on 21-year-old Alicia. At this very moment, everything seemed to be in place. Now that Mary had found a trusted family friend to look after her treasured child, she could now focus fully on providing for Ollie. Their plan was coming together. But reality wasn't so simple. Alicia certainly seemed like the perfect choice for the role. The young woman was a family friend, and knowing she had no job yet, the money would be more than welcomed. Plus, they knew each other, and Mary was sure that Ollie would be in good hands. However, things seemed to change soon after Mary started going to work again. Very soon, Mary felt herself overcome by a sense of relief. As much as it was a joy to be by her son's side, she could deny that it was nice to have more time to herself and to focus on the career that she loved. For the first time in forever, she felt that she had real balance in her life and that she could live just as she wanted to. She was silly to be worried at first. Everything was going to work out just fine. As she returned home one day, however, this elation didn't last much longer. Everything wasn't right here. Ollie's behavior was different as weeks passed, and the parents had no idea what was happening. In the meantime, Mary and Alicia were practically helping each other. The mom would be able to go back to work, and Alicia would get the extra money. It was a good solution, thought Mary. But it wasn't. There were some things that she could never have accounted for. The first time Alicia had visited Mary and Daniel was when that cat Zara had joined the family. The cat always had a habit of snuggling on a stranger's lap, and of course, Alicia was no exception to this. From the very start, things seemed very promising. Of course, it was this strong start that gave Mary the impression that there was nothing to worry about. Just as always, her son was in great hands, with those that cared about him. It was clear to the couple that Alicia was already, in some small way, a part of the family, integrated into their lives. Even if it was typical for Zara to act this way towards everybody, it was a nice touch nonetheless. There was clearly no reason for them to worry. Nothing was going to go wrong here. Even with the positive start, however, it soon became clear that things weren't going to be so simple. Not at all. It seemed that Alicia was already keen on driving a wedge between the family and their pet. All the while, she was able to hide away her motive. Soon enough, the nanny explained to Ollie's parents that Zara was aggressive because her clothes had a dog smell on them. Naturally, this was no cause of alarm for them. Why would it be? But the days went on. Mary and Daniel noticed that Ollie was not his usual self. Mary's initial concern was now becoming all the more pronounced as time went on. Even during his very early stages, Ollie had been a very laid-back, easily manageable baby. Loud noises never seemed to spook him, even in the least. To some degree, it was a little scary how well he dealt with these things. While Mary had always been grateful for this part of his nature, she couldn't help but ask herself questions about it. What was causing him to process things so easily? In those moments of curiosity, she would think back to seeing her friends' young children, their screams of anger and desperation. That had simply never been an issue for her son. Ollie's somewhat stoic character seemed to change one day, however. It was nothing, just a small argument between the couple as they were trying to organize a trip for the next weekend. Things weren't coming together, with Daniel not sure whether or not he would be able to drag himself from work. It was Mary's loud response that drew Ollie from his mid-slumber, even to the point where he flinched. Almost in an instant, Mary reached out to calm him. As soon as she noticed his alarm, she could feel her eyes well with steady tears, knowing straight away that things weren't right here. Something had changed, awfully. As she reached out, her baby flinched again. Mary couldn't focus, almost sure that she was imagining things. She found herself frozen by Ollie's terrified expression. Mary wanted to believe that she was paranoid, that she was just imagining things, but another voice in her head would not allow this lie to process. Something within her was too aware of the darkness that lurked. What if Alicia was hitting her baby? Surely this couldn't be real? Then, the next day she came home, her baby had a swollen lip. Far too many things had happened since Alicia became Ollie's nanny. Apparently, the baby's swollen lip was caused after he hit himself with a toy. But Mary and Dennis decided to check on the nanny just to be sure things were all right. They weren't. The parents didn't have time to buy a couple of nanny cams and install them fast, so they just bought a small recording device. But where should they put it? Ollie's clothes couldn't hide it, especially if Alicia would change them. Mary and Daniel could see the anxiety in one another's faces as they scrambled to make a decision. Still, they didn't want to believe what they were contemplating. But once again, as much as they wanted to brush their suspicions to one side, no one could deny the reality that they had seen. Something was dangerously wrong, and they had to get to the bottom of it before it was too late. After more tense discussion, their gazes fell upon Zara. The perfect spy had just been waiting there all along. Who could be better than Ollie's best friend to save the day? Indeed, the cat was already everywhere where Ollie was. With that, she would surely be in the perfect place to record Alicia's actions throughout the day. This plan couldn't fail. The days that followed were some of the most tense and distressing that the couple had ever witnessed. As much as they knew that they had to do this, there was still nothing that could stop them from feeling strange about the whole thing. Throughout their lives, even before they were together, the two had never been ones to intrude into the lives of others, especially someone who they considered a family friend. What if they had gotten this all wrong? What if Alicia was innocent? Mary could hardly bear the thought. This potent fear, twinned with the knowledge that the babysitter may well have harmed their child, just sent the couple into a spiral of doubt, not knowing where to turn. At the very least, they figured, the recordings should be able to provide a final answer. They wouldn't need to worry for much longer now. That fateful day that they listened into Zara's device, the two sat back and listened with bated breath. In the recording, Mary and Daniel heard Zara meowing at Ollie and the baby trying to meow at the cat back. In that instant, they felt their concern melt away. Surely they had just been worrying over nothing. The two were having fun just as normal. Then they heard Alicia. After the meowing, Mary and Daniel, who were in their car several minutes away from the house, could hear the young lady's voice as clear as day. Suddenly, Ollie starts crying, with Alicia soon to react in a way that they could never have expected. Instead of using a soothing voice or showing him a toy, something that may have actually helped, Alicia can be heard yelling at the baby. "Shut up, shut up," she yelled as baby Ollie kept crying. Meanwhile, Zara could be heard on the speaker as she hisses at the nanny. As she heard the cat respond to her actions, Alicia simply swore back, before then clearing from the room. Instantly, the parents rushed home to catch Alicia, but when they got home, everything was fine. Alicia was quick to open the door, showing them in an instant that she wasn't distressed or aggravated by anything. Indeed, had they not heard the recording only moments earlier, they would think for sure that there was nothing to worry about. But they knew differently now. Equally, both Zara and Ollie seemed perfectly content. It was strange once again, as though they truly were going crazy. This was definitely what Mary thought as she watched all of this unfold before her. Perhaps her greatest fear now was that her husband would think that she was crazy too. Just as the couple took a moment aside, however, Daniel soon confirmed to Mary that he knew what he heard. Neither of them were crazy, not in the least. They just didn't have total evidence yet. It was just a matter of time before they got what they needed. Regrettably, they only had the recording, which wasn't enough for a police report. Alicia pretended everything was fine, and the parents did the same on that day. They claimed they forgot something for work and shortly left again. However, they didn't go back to work that day at all. Instead of going to work, the parents took the day off to buy a couple of nanny cams and install them in the living room and in the baby room. The pair had to be extra careful as they entered their home on that evening. Both of them carried bags loaded with new equipment and were desperate to hide it from Alicia's gaze as she left the house. As she departed, Alicia greeted them with a warm smile. Mary felt forced to return the gesture, And eventually, she smiled back, knowing inside that this wasn't who Alicia truly was. And soon, she was going to prove exactly that. The next morning, everything was set up. All they needed was proof, and unfortunately for Ollie, they'd have enough of it. Before recording Alicia, Mary and Dennis filed a police report after finding blood on their baby's pajamas from the time he cut his lip. Mary was stunned as she saw the stain. In those terrifying seconds, it felt as though time froze completely. This couldn't be happening. This nightmare was now becoming all too real for her. In a way, she didn't know what to feel as she held the pajamas up to the light once more, her hands shaking feverishly as she did so. Soon after, however, the paralysis broke. She screamed out through the house, calling Daniel's name as he ran back through the house with desperation. In those horrible seconds, Daniel could feel the terrifying possibilities running through his mind. He dreaded what might come next as he tore into the room where Mary was standing. Once again, the two were plunged back into worry and anxiety, with neither sure how they were going to deal with this problem now. Although this was the last thing that they wanted with regards to proof, neither could deny that this had to stop now. There could be no more of this. Without recording or footage of the abusive act, Alicia wasn't charged. She had no idea the couple was slowly discovering her dark side. All the while, Mary was desperate to know what was happening inside the young woman's head. She was sure now that Alicia was guilty, but what was causing her to act in this despicable way? Planting the cameras, the parents got ready to leave the house and counted on Zara to do her job. Once again, the couple was forced to hold their breath as they anticipated the worst from the nanny that they had hired. Things were already a lot worse than Mary imagined. Not even 15 minutes passed and Alicia would reveal her true self, this time in front of the hidden camera. As soon as they watched the live footage unfold, the parents called the police and drove home as fast as they could. Alicia had completely lost her mind that day. Here's what the mother recalls in an interview with the media. "When I watched the video, she was screaming at him, telling him to